Hi, so for this video we're looking at using Solid Edge to create quick items that we can then go and render. So for this example we're using a kitchen. So here we've got a layout of our kitchen, we've got our oven location, our hob location, we've got our sink and our window, we've got all of our sizes. So this would probably come from a DWG DXF file, architect's drawing, and the customer wants to see what it looks like and where to position stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into our Tools tab on here, and we're going to use this, or we can use this Create 3D. We're not actually going to do it the traditional way. We're just going to use this just to go and pop this sketch as our top view. So we're just going to select that, and then we're going to go and finish. Make sure we've got top view in the drop down on there, and then accept on there. That is then going to go and take this file into an assembly file. So we've now got that file in our new assembly. We've got our sketch. I'm just going to go and close that. Don't want to save any changes on that. And just to be careful, I'm just going to make sure that I've got this in the correct location. I'm just going to go and save this to my kitchen folder on here. So I've got standard parts kitchen, and I'm just going to use my automated part numbering on the data management side. So now we've got our layout. So this is our image in our assembly. We're going to go and put all these parts. But what I really want is a part that's got this sketch in. So for this one, I'm going to go and create a part. Make sure my origin is constant with the assembly origin on there. I'm going to ground the part as I create it. I'm not going to add any material at the moment, because we haven't got, it's not a standard kind of part. And again, I'm just going to go and follow the automated rules. So what I'm going to do with this one, for this one, we could either create our walls or our floor first. It doesn't matter which order we do it in. I find it easier to go and create the walls first on there. So you can see we've got our cavity walls and we've got our 100mm internal wall on there. So now we're into this part. What we need to do is I actually want to be in synchronous modeling, but what we need to do is go back to the assembly, and we need to use this little option here, copy sketch. This allows us to go and choose a sketch. So I want this front sketch, and I want to copy that into the part. Do I want link to file? No, I don't want link to file. And I'm going to click OK on that. I'm then going to save, and I'm going to go back into this part. So I'm going to go and this time I'm going to go and open this part. And we can see that we've got this sketch in there. To get the most out of this, what I really want I want this sketch to be in synchronous. So I'm going to go and move that to synchronous, go to synchronous mode, save that part, and now I'm going to come out of the part, save the assembly, and then go back in. And that should have all updated nicely for us on there. Okay, so we've now got our sketch. If we go into our sketch, right click on the sketch, we want to choose this option, enable regions, because we've copied the sketch from an assembly, from a draft to an assembly, a draft to an assembly to a part even. We haven't got enable regions on, so now we've got our regions. So we can now go and work with these areas that we want. So using the control key, we can go and select all the regions that we want to work with. So I want these regions to go and create the appropriate sections of wall that I want to go up on here. So here, got a slight little issue on this one. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'll just bring that void up as well. So those are our walls that we want to reference on there. And we can just click the arrow and just drag that up. So for this, we can just go up, say, 2.5 meters for a reasonably high ceiling on there. And now we've got that shape on there ready for us to go. So that is probably as much as I really want to do on there, but actually we've got a window there. So I'm going to go and have a look at that sketch. And I want to say, well, our worktops are going to be, say, 950. So we're going to have our window cell. Oh, it's doing something strange. Our design intent on the right, we can press the U key, which will undo our design intent. Stops that being linked to here. I'm going to go and bring this, put this window cell at 1150 or so. So that's going to go and bring that window cell up. And now I can go and find these regions that I've got on here. So we've actually got a couple of regions, or we can do it a completely different way. So what I'm going to do on here, I'm actually going to do a rectangle by 3 points. I'm going to lock to that face by clicking F3 when it tells me to. I'm then going to go and take a point at the end of that line. So I'm just hover over that line, go to that endpoint, hover over that line, go to the endpoint. That's going to allow me to go and create my window. So if I go 800 on there, that's now going to give me a region the same as what we did earlier, and we can just drag that all the way through. If we do it properly, we go and change our option to through all, but in synchronous it doesn't really matter, so we can just go and drag that through. We can go and hide that sketch, and we've got our walls ready to go on there. So I'm going to save that and come back out, and that is our first step done. So using that same kind of process, we could copy sketches from we could copy sketches from different floors of buildings and stuff and build up the walls of an entire building if we wanted to. So that's that first step. So let's have a look at kitchen units. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to choose insert component, and the component I'm going to go and look at is I've created different units. So just to make this a little bit easier, I've created some different units, but let's go and have a look in these. So I'm going to bring in a unit base 600. So this is a 600 wide, and once you've got the worktop on, it'll be 600 deep. This unit has got an automatic mating system on it, so you can see it's giving me that face. This is this little tool up here called Capture Fit, and it's telling me what relationships. I'm just going to go and drag this box here where I like it, and that's giving me that mate, and that's giving me where to mate it. So my first mate is going to be there. My second mate, I haven't created the floor, so I'm going to go and click there. If the mate's the wrong way, we can normally choose the F key to go and flip that if that is the wrong way, and then the last mate on there. So for that, we can see we actually got that a little bit wrong. So I'm going to go and come back out of there, and I'm going to go and create that floor first, just to give us something to mate to. So on here, I'm going to follow the same process we did before. This one's going to be the floor, but I'm just going to use my normal part numbering system. And then for this, very simply, because we've got our coordinate system at the bottom there, I can use this little option to create a box. So this little box tool up here allows me to go and choose on there. So I want my box to be on that plane. Do the F3, the same as what we did before. So I want to make the floor about that size. And I'm going to go down. Let's just go down 300 mil on there to represent hardcore concrete base, etc. And then we can close and return when we've got that looking nicely. I'm just going to go and find this little color option on here, and I'm going to go and change the color on one of these. So I'm going to go and make this floor like a brown color. So I'm just going to go and drag that on. And the walls, I'm just going to make like a pearl color also for now. Not pearl clear, that makes it awkward. There we go. And then I'm going to hide that sketch. So this unit that I'm bringing in, let's just have a look at that. So if we go into that and I go and open that in a new window, you can see it looks reasonably complex, but I've got a sketch, which is like the overall unit size. And this sketch is kind of, I've got 560, which is my height, ignoring the door, because we only have a 20 mil-ish overlap of the worktop on there. And then we've got that size and that size. So we might see this size might always be 560 minus 40 to be that size. So we can easily go in there and we can go and edit the formula and tell that to equal that size. What's it? Minus 40. And now if I go and change that size, that's going to go and adjust. We've got a protrusion, so the width on here is a 600, so that's this 600 size we've got on the top of the screen here. So if we go and copy this part, that is the size that we need to go and change. I've created thin walls just so it looks a little bit more realistic. We don't really need to do that because we're not really going to go and see the inside, but just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And then I've created a protrusion and a round, and I've done that as multi-body modeling and then put the two bodies together so we can have those two different colors easily. So that's quite a nice, reasonable, basic looking item. The idea is that we can go and copy and paste it, and this width on here, this 600 dimension that I've got on the top here, can be changed if I need to go and create a unit of a different size very quickly. So let's come back out of there, and then let's go and I'm just going to go and drag this model in again. So if I go and wrong model, make sure we can bring that one in. So I'm going to bring that in. Now we've got a floor, it makes it much easier for us to go and constrain it because we know exactly where that needs to go. Let's just delete that one. And if I do copy and paste, it's just a matter of now of just going and pasting that back in and just specifying where that needs to go. We could possibly pattern it, but quite often we're not going to end up doing that many different units on there. What I'm going to do is on my insert components, I'm now going to pin it, this little pin icon on here. I'm going to click on that. So next we're going to pull in this base unit 400 to go on the back wall. So what I've done is change that dimension I've just done on that previous one and change that to whatever it will be, 340, 360, etc. And now we can go and place these on here using similar relationships to what we've got before. Let's just go and place another couple on there quickly. We know the same process for doing those clicks, and we can now use Control V to go and paste those in there. So we've got those 3 units on there. I haven't actually created a corner unit, but we could do something very similar just with our XY sizes to go and create that appropriate unit on there. So what I want to do, I want to go and pop a unit in on this side as well. So let's go pop him in, and then him, and then him. I did actually forget to ground this component when I created it, similar as I did to the other one. But what I can do on there, I can actually say match coordinate system. So for that component, I'm going to go and choose the. So I'm going to click on the component, choose edit on there. I'm going to use this little option to go and show the coordinate system, and then we can choose this match coordinate system and say I want that to match the one that is the one on the assembly, and that's going to go and pop that in place for me. You see all the little features up here are all solid, they haven't got any little vibration lines. That means that all those parts are fully constrained. I can also go into tools and errors. You can see that errors is grayed out. That means there aren't any parts that need relationships. You can see I've got that as a quick link on there. Obviously we can go and right click, add to quick access toolbar if we need to go and add that kind of feature to the top. So let's go and carry on adding these in. So this one, I want to go there, there, but this time I want a little gap for something. So while we are placing this, there's no reason we can't go and pop a little size in there, and that's going to go and leave a gap on there. This is actually going to be the sync unit. So for this one, I actually want to go and create this as a 900 wide unit as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and choose my replace part. We've got different options on here, new part, but I want to choose a copy. So I want this to create a copy of this part. So that's going to give me this part. So this one needs to be unit base 900 wide. I'm just going to call this what it needs to be. And I'm going to go and pop that into my kitchen folder as well. So let's pop it in the kitchen folder, check it, and finish on there. And now we can go and change that file. So there's several different ways. We can go into the part. There's a real nice little tool that we've got called peer variables that allows us to change a variable, a dimension of whichever part we click on. So if I click on there, that is now giving me my variable table. This might come up bigger, smaller, on a different screen, etc. But now we can go and see we've got that size on there, which I showed you earlier. So now I can go and change that size. I made that out of the way. You'll see that unit has now got bigger. So that has now created that file, and we've made that change, and it's adjusted its position to suit on there as well. So I can carry on and go and pop the rest of these units in, assuming that I do it right. Nice to see we all make mistakes. So back, floor, side. And again, not that one. Okay, so we've got we've got some stuff on there. Yeah, I need another couple on here, so I'm just going to go and chuck these in. So black back floor. We're going to have the oven in there, so I'm going to go and do a 600. So for this one, I've got a tall unit, but I've actually got a nice oven unit on here. So I'm going to go and paste these, and then side. If you do click the wrong relationships, easiest thing is normally just to go and bring it back in on there. Okay, so now we've done that. If you do Control I, that takes you to an isometric view before you save. Always a good way to make sure it looks nice before we go and save that. And then next I'm going to go back to my create part in place, and I'm going to go and create some worktops on there. So I'm going to go and create part in place. I'm going to follow the same kind of process on here. Choose this option to make sure it grounds it, so we don't have the same issue we had with the floor. So if I click on there, recognize them in the kitchen this time, that's great. So that's going to go and save this worktop. And now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and use this little tool on here called Projector Sketch. I'll give you a few seconds to find that if you're following through. And then I want to kind of create it on the top of one of these units. So if I press Shift and hover over one of these units, so just tap Shift, you can let go once you've done it, and then press F3, so it locks onto there. So I'm going to give us our project options. We don't want to change any settings, we want to stick with the default settings. If you don't want this to pop up and you want to choose that, you can turn this little dialog box off, but I like it to pop up every time just to remind me. If we then do Control H, that will take us to a sketch view. This will then allow us to go and choose edges that we want to represent our worktop. So I want my worktop to be all of those edges. Oh, I don't want worktop on this section, so I'm going to go and turn those off. I want this to run all the way through on here, and I'm probably going to think about putting a little section on the end, so I'll have a look at modifying that in a second. Okay, so that's that one. I'm probably going to remove that end unit actually. And now we can go and draw up these the way that we want. So on here, I'm just going to go and draw this as a kind of square shape. And then I'm going to come across. And then this one, I probably should have actually taken this first. Okay, well, that's not the one I wanted, is it? Because I've got a under unit in there. And if I use the trim corner, it might be under a drop down if you're not using customized theme, but I've gone and taken that, and I'm just going to make sure that that is 600 deep on there. So we've got that. I'm just going to go and make a quick change on here and turn my auto scale sketch off, which I don't want for this instance. And then it's just a matter of just getting these all as you would want them to be. So I've got that. Let's go 800 on there. That looks pretty good. This worktop at the back, I need another edge on here, so I'm going to go and take that one on there. This time I do a little offset, so I'm going to do a 600 offset from this line to create that one, 400 offset this line to create that one. And now I go back to the trim command and go and trim these up. So for this I'm doing what I call trim keep, so this kind of gets the lines where they need to be. So this one actually got a bit of a weird one, so I'm going to go and extend those two first. I'm going to extend that line to there, and then I'm going to do a trim delete on there. I actually missed that. I missed that, didn't I? Okay, several different ways of doing exactly the same as what I've done on here. We don't need that one. So that's given us all of our worktops on there. I'm just going to make sure that we've got the appropriate collinear between those two. So we've got 600, 600, 400 on the back. We've got our little breakfast bar table on there. And now we can go. So what's quite cool on here, if we use Control Q, as a keyboard shortcut. That goes and hides the rest of that stuff that we don't want to see. And now I can go and click on these regions without worrying about seeing anything else. Choose the up arrow, and we're going to extend that whatever height we want to go. So I'm going to go, let's go 40 mil on here. And we've got our 40 mil worktop. And what we can do sometimes is we can go and make sure that we've got appropriate face styles. So sometimes we want something that's going to show some kind of timber. So on here, I haven't got any kind of timber. So the first thing to do is go and find an appropriate timber image that we want to use off the internet and go and save that to our pictures folder. Once we've done that, we can go and create an appropriate style. So I'm going to call this, let's just call this worktop. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go and choose texture, and we're going to browse a texture image. So this is going to allow me to go and find an appropriate image. So you see in here, I've got brick walls, all sorts of different stuff. That's the worktop that I want. It's walnut. The higher quality you can find, so you can search large, extra large images, the better that's going to be. So you can see that one's 910, so that might be slightly better, even though it's a little light. And then we've got different options. We can have it so it's surface. So if we do surface, it's going to stretch that over the entire surface. Or if we do world, it's going to keep its size, and it's going to kind of almost put it as though it's a load of tiles kind of thing style on there. We can do other stuff within appearance. We can go and change different options on here. So if we want to make it darker, we could possibly go and do these kind of sizes. So once we've done that, I can apply, and I can double click on material now. So we're still in the part. And we can go and apply an appropriate material, or we can go and create our own custom material. So I'm just gonna come out of there. Let's go to materials, non-metals, woods. So we've got woods, but we've got nothing kind of linked to them at the moment. So on this one, I'm going to go and manage style, and I'm going to go and find this style that I've just created on there. So face styles, what did we call it? I believe we did worktop. So if we can't see that, I'm just going to go and apply that first. And then I'm going to use Part Painter instead. And then go and find that in here. So we've got our worktop. I'm going to do feature, so it's going to do the entire feature. And that has gone and created that the way that I wanted that on there. The grain's the wrong way, so there's no reason we can't easily go back into what we've just done, make a modification, go back to our texture and go and rotate that 90 degrees on there. I apply, you should see that change on there. Looking good. We do surface, so that looks like. Surface looks quite good actually. The great thing is we can see what that looks like live on there. Try changing that weight down as well. That's fine. We'll leave that as 1. So that looks good on there. Appearance, those are the things. So we can go and change stuff like shininess. And we click apply each time. So you can see those kind of reflections. And that's going to go and make it lighter and darker by changing those settings. So I'm going to leave it something like that. Looks pretty good. I'm then going to just save and close. So remember, Control S to save. So a very quick way of us looking on there. Notice I've done something similar on here. I've got like a metal effect on those, which I've already applied into those parts. That part will be available to download from the link in the video if you want to have a go with that. So the next thing we'll have a look at is thinking about downloading parts. So GrabCAD is a really useful tool. So you'll see there's all sorts of different things on here. So I've got this kitchen sink, which I've downloaded from GrabCAD, brought it into Solid Edge, and now I've created that as a Solid Edge part. So now I can go and place this where this needs to go. So these don't necessarily need to be exactly what your customer might require, but you can see how this is just going to make everything look a little bit better on there. So and we've always got that F key to flip on there, and that's going to allow us to go and flip that. And then we can go and just use our drag component using this third option, and we can go and click on that and go and drag that and decide where we want that to go on there. Notice we actually need to put like a bit of a cutout through the unit or the units, etc. So what we can do on here, on this little option features, we can then do a cutout. So if we choose feature cut, And I'm going to go and create a assembly feature on here. And then we choose the plane. So I want the top of that face is what I want to cut. And then what we can do in that cut command is do the same as what we did earlier for the worktops, is use our projector sketch. Click OK. And then we can choose, and then we can go and find these options to allow us to go and find the appropriate edges that we want on there. So depending on which options we select, depends what kind of edge we're going to select. So I want that edge. Choose tangent wireframe. Select OK. That's the edge that I want. I can then close the sketch. I've got a full element, and then we'll decide what kind of cut I want. So for this one, I want to do a finite one. So I only want to go down, say, 200mm to make sure that we've got clearance. And then when we do 200mm, just left click to confirm the direction. Choose the parts that we want to cut. So for this, I'm going to go and press Control on there, so we're not actually cutting the actual sink. And that's going to go and cut all those other components. And click Accept. Not sure whether our 200 was far enough. If our 200 wasn't, we can go back to our extent and go, well, let's just go change that to 250. That's much better. We can see that we've got that clearance on there, and then finish. So that looks pretty good now. Let's bring some of the little accessories in here as well. I have got some base cupboards, some wall cupboards on here as well. So if I go and have a look at some of the other components I've got, if we're looking on the left on here, we can see all sorts of different items. So we've got a washing machine. So let's go and pop this washing machine in. Again, it's picking up these kind of constraints, so we can see that's a floor first. So if I go and place the floor, it's then looking for the back edge, so I want to go to that wall. And then the face that I want, I haven't actually got a face on there, but if I left, so I'm going to have to kind of manually go and create that last relationship on there. So what I'm going to do on there, I'm going to use, let's just click on the washing machine, choose the left-hand option here, edit definition, press and drag one of those faces, allows me to kind of drag it in the degree of freedom that I've got left. So I'm kind of happy with that. I'm just going to right-click to deselect the face I was dragging and then just make that face to there. And that's popped the washing machine in situ. If I want to get it perfect, it's probably 590 something wide. I need to put a couple of mil either side, but that's probably good enough. Okay, so some other quite cool stuff. I've got a toaster, again from GrabCAD. So here we can go and bring this in. There's no relationships on this one, so I'm just going to go and do this manually. That face to that face. It's gone to the right place, so I'll just leave that there. I've got a fridge, so let's bring this in and see what this looks like. So we've got a fridge here, so let's go and pop this in. Remember, we've got the F key to go and flip that, so that's going to go there. And then that face to that face. Nice, got our fridge in situ now. Let's see what else we've got. I've got a cooker hood, so I haven't actually created that yet. Let's have a look, see what else we got. A microwave, so I'll go and drag this microwave in. So again, no relationships, so make sure you've always got your finger on the F key ready to go and make those appropriate changes on there. It's going to go in backwards for some reason. And then we've got our microwave in its situation on there. Okay, let's have a look, see we've got kitchen, microwave. There should be some kind of oven, so let's go and see if I can find the oven. Okay, so let's see where I've got that oven. Okay, so that's the oven. So let's go and drag that in. So while we do our Control I to make sure that we can see the item. So it looks like our oven is not a standard size. So what we need to do is make a change to this. So this unit, it's easy enough for us to click on this unit, see the relationships that we've got. See, I've got a 600 on there. I'd probably guess that unit's that one's going to be 750 or 800. So let's go to 800 on there. 775. That looks pretty good. We'll go with that. And then this unit on the top, you can see that that's too short as well. But we did this in synchronous. So the cool thing about this is, okay, so let's go into this part then. So for this, we've got several different options. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into this time and I'm going to open this in a new window. So now we can just go and click on that face. When I do this, and I've got a large part, I like to zoom out and just double check that nothing else is moving at the same time as well. So I think we have to do 175. So I can always save that, go back to the assembly, see what that looks like. And as long as we update the assembly, so we can use Alt-U to go and update, we can see it that has worked nicely on there. So we can go and close that part now. And we can go and do a right click and do a show all, and that will bring all those parts back on there. So now we've got that looking pretty good on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to speed up this little next section. So for this next section, I'm going to go and find some 400mm upper cupboards. So so we're looking for this 400mm deep wall cupboard, pretty much the same as the ones we've done before, apart from it's just a straight kind of cupboard on there. So okay, next I'm going to put the cooker hood in. So if we go and grab the cooker hood part, this one there's no assembly relationships on here. It should be the right kind of size to fit in. I just need to use this horrible little tiny flat surface on there. So that's got our cooker hood. Cooker hood is slightly too wide. So let's go and have a look at doing a synchronous change. So I'm going to go and drag that down. See that's symmetrically shrinking. So I'm going to just go 25 and see what that looks like on there. You can see that we actually needed to go and select all the faces to make that smaller. And I think it needs to be 25, so because it's symmetrical, I need to go 12.5 on that. And that's looking pretty good now. Okay, so we could go and do more items on here. So what I want to do, I'm just going to go and tidy up these corners. So we've got 800mm on here, so I'm going to go and do a round on these corners. So I'm going to go and choose our edge, do a radius. Let's go 400. So we've got a full smooth circle on there. Choose those two, and let's see what that looks like. It looks okay. Maybe it might look better with a bit of flat on it. So I'll just go and see what that's going to look like on there. I think that looks better. So I can go and finish that. I did say that I didn't actually really want this unit in, so easy enough for me just to go and delete that. That's probably better. So I've got a bit of leg room. We could have a little bottle rack in there instead. We probably need some kind of leg or something in there as well. That's no problem. We can easily go and create part in place. Go and choose the appropriate shape that we want. So I'm just going to do a standard create part in place. I'm going to create this in my kitchens folder. And then remember, if the part disappears, because Control Q has been on. So I'm going to go and choose that on there. Remember, I'm going to use the shift to get that face. And then F3, go create the circle. So maybe I want like a 80mm steel chrome pole kind of thing on here. And we can then go and extend that up. and go and place that. If we want to kind of actually represent it as it should be, there's no reason we can't go, well, that's going to be, say, 2 mil. Click on those two faces. I'm just going to Control Q, just make it a little bit easier. And we've got our leg in place. And we can close that, and we can go and constrain that. Depends if I'm just doing this for a quick render. I'm probably not too worried on there, but we can use this little move on select tool to go and allow me to go and position it, and I can go and snap to the midpoint on there. That's where I want that to be, and so I want that to be linked to that midpoint on there. So it's got that in the right situation on there. Not going to bother with a batten to support that to the wall. I haven't got a tap on there, but obviously we could put a tap in there. Just have to make sure the hole's in the right place. But there we've got our kind of basic kitchen ready to go on there. So we've got one more thing that we probably didn't bring in. We've got a kettle here, so I'm just going to go and use this, and let's go and position this kettle. We'll go and have this on the side over here. There we go, and then come out of there. Not going to bother fully constraining that. So you'll see in the so that's all kind of ready to go. So what I've done, I'm going to go and use another example. I'll put some tiles on just so we've got another level, and I've done this end slightly differently on that one. But if you get there, save, we're then ready for us to go and render. You will find sometimes adding a roof can also make a difference. But what we can do on there is we've got this part that is the floor. We can actually go and just copy that and go and drag that up. So on this one, I did it 2.5 plus 300, so 2.8. Should go and pop that in position on there. And then when we go and do our perspective option, and then we go in there, we've got we've got quite a nice little look on there. Okay, so now we're going to go and take this into Keyshot. So I'm just going to take a quick break, and I'm back in a sec. Okay, so here's the one that we've just created. So I'm just going to jump over to the other one. It's a little bit more finished on here. So a few little changes. Leg slightly bigger, slightly different sink on there. I'll put some tiles on there. Got an extra unit on the end here, and the extra rounded corner on there. So when we go into Keyshot, there's a few little settings that we can do to make sure that it comes into Keyshot better. So if we go to our options, settings options, whichever way we go to settings, what we can do on our view tab is just go up to this arc smoothness. So this always defaults to 3. So I'm going to go and change this to 7 and click apply and then OK on there. This may take a few seconds, so just give that some time. And then what I'm going to do on here, I'm also going to go to sharpness set, that's on 2. So on here, I'm going to go up to 4 on there. So that means that we're going to get improved visual on there again. Wait a sec for that to improve on there. And then it will kind of start to calculate. You notice the edges will be slightly square or kind of like faceted. But as soon as we go in, everything will start to be smooth again on there. So notice I've done a white ceiling, timber floor on there. I haven't done any M panels. That was probably the next thing for me to do. And then just make sure that we've got the appropriate materials applied to any of these. Everything shouldn't be too bad. The better we apply the materials now, the better problems we're going to have. But trying to do the cooker hood because that has got multicolours already in it. Again, the fridge that's got the red Samsung symbol, so we don't really want to lose that. So what I'm going to kind of zoom in. So that's kind of like what we want to do. Zoom in to the appropriate kind of position on there. So spin that round, get that orientate correctly. So we want to kind of do it at eye height, we can do. Save that and then go to our tools tab. And then from the tools tab, we should have a Keyshot option over here. So there are Keyshot settings. So we can go and decide what our base option is going to be on here if we need to. And then we've got an output quality. So if we find that we've got a problem, we can go and increase that output quality or decrease it. These are reasonably simple models, so I'm going to go quite high over here. And then I'm going to click OK and then go to Keyshot Render, and that will open with the appropriate version of Keyshot. So if we're on Solid 2022, we'll probably get Keyshot 10, but we can upgrade to Keyshot 11 on there. So what this is doing now is saving this out as a bit file and opening the appropriate version of Keyshot that we've got on our machine. So first thing is, everyone's probably going, why is yours black and mine's white? So we can go to edit preferences, and then we can go and change our theme. So if we don't like the theme that we've got, we can go and change that on there as well. We can also go and change our font size, so depending on what screen type we've got, the fonts might be bigger or smaller, etc. on there. So now we've got there and we can see our view, and it's not too bad straight away. But what I'm going to do, we have got a few problems with lighting, so we probably will have to go and sort some kind of lighting out on here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through and go and see what we can do first. So first thing is, the camera angle I've got is quite nice. So what I'm going to do on here, I'm going to mine's gone to camera on here. So here I've got free camera current view. So what I want to do current camera 1. I'm going to go and save that, and then go back to free camera. So if I click on this view and go and spin this round, I can always go back to camera 1, and I'm back to that view on there. So let's kind of go from the start here. So the top bar is similar to what we've got. This doesn't change. These are kind of drop-down menus. These aren't tabs like we may be used to on Solid Edge. We've got different workspaces depending on what we're working on, but we can go and customize those ourselves. So one thing that I always say, I always remember M turns on that bar on the left. R turns the top bar on and off if you want. Space bar removes the bar on the right, and T removes the little bar at the bottom. So if you don't need one of those options, you can go and turn those off to give you more options that you need. Also, if you press K on the keyboard, that will bring up the hotkeys. So that will bring up this. We can save that as an image. And if you've got multi-monitor, you can go and drag that over to another monitor and leave that on there. And that's going to show what all of these are on there. The little arrow is shift. So if you say it's not the up key, I had one customer ask, is that the up key or is it shift? It's definitely shift. So make sure if you see the up arrow, that's the shift key on there. So I'm just going to go and reset mine to standard using those MR space T or Mr. T. Here's an easy way to remember that. Coming on here, we've got different CPU usage. So if we want to do something else, we can go and reduce that depending on how many cores we've got. We've got pause rendering. So Keyshot does a constant rendering, but what I want to do on here, I'm actually going to turn mine into GPU mode because I've got a reasonable quality graphics card. I can let the GPU do that. The first time you do it will come up setting up, finding GPU materials. So because I've done quite a bit within Solid Edge, it's actually not too bad really at all. But what I might do is actually, I'm not really happy with the woods that I've done. So over here in the materials, I'm going to go and search wood. And that's going to allow me to go and find some of these different kind of options. So what we can do, we can just go and drag those on and see what those look like. That looks quite nice with a cherry. So maybe I want the floor to be some kind of slate. So let's go in there and do a search for slate. So stone. Let's go and find a marble and go and apply that to the floor on there. That looks pretty good on there. And we can go and keep applying the different kind of materials that we want on those. So I want the walls to be another different kind of color as well. So we can go into colors and we can just go and look through the different kind of colors that we want. So I'm going to go and just drag that color onto the walls. That's quite good. Doesn't really work with the tiles though, so I'm going to go back to a pastel green on there. You can see that we've got something going on with these units on here, so that's not too much of a problem. So I'm just going to go and drag some light grey onto those to go and get those so they match. There we go, that's not too bad. And we can carry on just spinning those around. To make my life easier, I'm actually going to go and just change this size. So I'm going to choose the image size, and I'm going to go and choose a slightly bigger size on here. So that's going to give me a better size on there for me. So I can go and see that. So I'm just going to go back to camera 1, I didn't save that, so I'm just going to go and reset that and go back to my free camera. So we have got a full tree. So if I click on my scene tree and I open up my model sets, we can see that we've got all these different items. So if we did need to go and hide or show something, we can just click the little kind of icon on there, and that will go and hide and show the items on there. So if we go down and find this floor on here, which is the ceiling, that's obviously going to go and brighten our scene up. But that's probably almost too bright. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and turn that back off. And then to go and brighten this up, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring a model in. So on here, we can bring all sorts of different geometry, so you can see all sorts of different shapes. So I'm just going to click in the scene and just zoom out. And for this, I'm going to go and bring a plane in. So I'm just going to bring this over to the right here. And that's then going to go and bring this plane. So this is now got the information of this plane because it's highlighted on here. So we can decide what the different sizes are. So I'm going to go to so we've now got this little plane, and what we can do, we can use these arrows to go and position this. So we're going to turn this into a light emitting plane. So I'm going to go and bring that inside, and now we've got that as a plane. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to turn this performance mode on, so it almost just makes it look like childish on here. We've also got standard views as well. So if we do go to our camera on here, we can choose standard views, and we've got different shortcuts. So for this, I'm going to go into a top view, and we can see that this plane is miles away. So I'm going to go and just use these arrows to go and drag this plane to where it should be in there. So that's going to be my light. Let's go back to this camera view. So we've got that. Let's zoom out and just see where the plane is. So, okay, I'm just going to make sure that I lock that camera view. So now I'm going to go and click on the plane again. I'll go and find it in the scene, and then use the move tool to go and drag this down. If the orientation is wrong, we can also orientate it using this option. So maybe I want the plane to be there. That clicks, that's okay. So now what we can do, we can go and decide what we're going to have this plane doing. So we've got visibility. I can click on material. So if I go into edit material, here we've got different kind of materials that this plane can be. This type is what we're looking for on here. So here we can have this as different options. So we can have this as an area light, and if we click on advanced, we can have this, so we can have it so it's visible to camera. So we can go and turn this option so it's providing a light. So if I turn my performance mode back off, we can see that that plane should be going applying some light. So I'm just going to go back to camera 1. We can see that we're applying some light, but we haven't got a huge amount of light being applied from there. So I'm going to go and find this plane, and I'm going to go and edit the material again on there. And if we go into here, we can see our power option. So here I'm just going to, let's try 5,000 lumens. You can see how our scene is going to go and lighten up on there. So we can go and move that plane around. We can go and move cubes to get the lighting how we want on there. So I'm just going to go to 20,000 on there. So that's going to brighten our scene up quite a bit on there. We can go and add other things. So currently we've got an environment on here, which is kind of a lighting environment. So if I choose on here, we can go and choose the appropriate environment that we want. So we can go and drag this into the scene. And this is going to kind of decide on the reflections that we've got on here. If we expand our different options, we can rotate our environment. So this is kind of like almost like a light tent, where we can decide where those lights are going to be on there. So you can see it's producing all sorts of different shadows. I'm just going to go back to GPU mode, so that's going to allow us to go and render that quicker on there. So you can see that we've got that plane on there, applying the appropriate amount of light. Obviously, if we did go and just remove that top plane, that's going to kind of show that the way that we want. So if I go and turn that top plane off, you can see how we're going to get that looking like that. I'm just going to go back to free camera and go in on there, and let's look more of a galley view on there. So we can go in and view that from there. So when you're, all the ways of moving stuff is slightly different to Solid Edge, so get used to having a look at those. We can also, when we are working with a camera, we can go and set our sizes on here. So to get that straight, we can go and set that to 90. Inclination, let's go set that to 10, and twist, let's go and set to 0. That's going to go and straighten that view up for us, so it can be a little bit easier on there. Then we've also got our perspective options and our field of view. So on here, I'm going to go 30. Let's go a little bit more perspective on there. So that's going to give us that view on there. Let's go back to the scene. Let's go turn this back on. Turn the floor. So we've got that light on there. We could do some cylinders to kind of represent real lighting if we needed to on there. What I might do is try moving that plane down slightly instead. So if I choose that plane, use the move tool, then click OK, and then let's go and drag that down and see what happens if we lighten that up in the middle on there. Let's go and move that across as well. We can also try changing different light types as well. So if we do go on that plane and we go and edit that material, we can go and change this from area light to IES light potentially. It's probably not going to work. Area light's probably going to be the light that we want. Spotlight, it's going to just do a crazy spotlight in relation to it. Or emissive, that's not really going to work, so I'm just going to go and change that back to an area light on there, and then let's go and change that wattage. Yeah, it's quite a lot. Let's turn that off so it's not visible to the camera again. Let's go 300. And then we can just leave that running. So because we're in GPU mode, the GPU mode is going to carry on working away on there. I'm actually going to go and put that light back up again. I'm going to go and move that so it's back up in the upper position, just using that arrow. So it's back up on the ceiling. But so it's not so close. Could probably do with another light, or changing it to a cube might actually work better. But you can kind of see what we're working with on there. I might even go and change the scale slightly. So let's just go and change the X to 1. There we go, that's a little bit better. And let's change that to 180. For some reason that got rotated, so that's causing those little lines coming off the sides on there. Okay, so we can now go and either leave that rendering on there. We can use this little denoise option to go and reduce a lot of the fuzz. So quickly we're going to get something, and that's just going to keep running. So we've got all this information on here. So this little box can be turned on and off. If we press K on the keyboard and bring up our shortcuts, that will tell us how we can go and turn this on and off. I can't remember straight off the top of my head. Heads up display, H. So that will just go and turn that on and off on there. Yeah, H. That just gives us an idea of what it's doing. So that 49 seconds is how long it's, so that's just continually improving that image on there. We can then go to render at the bottom. This will allow us to go and choose the kind of render options that we need. So depending on which version we get, we're going to get these different options. So I tend to go into presets, choose one of those standard options, go and have a look at all sorts of different options we can do in there. So what I would tend to do is say, well, I want this to render for say 240 seconds, 4 minutes, and then just click render, and that will come up with a separate box, which that is going to go and render, and you'll see how that passes and goes through. Once you've rendered that, you can then go and save, and we've got that ready to go. Okay, what I'll do, I'll share the finished render with you at the end of the video. Hopefully that's been useful. Thank you very much.